Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Staltare, and I am a genealogist and a passionate traveler. We are focusing our attention in this series on les filles à marier. These are the women that came before my other series, Les Filles du Roi. Today we're going to be focusing our attention on episode number 21. But before we begin, let's show you ways you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know. Subscribe, like, and notify. These are ways in which the logarithms of YouTube help other people find me. So that is very helpful, obviously. And the other one is, the other ways you can support the channel are a deeper level. It's a financial level. And you have the super thanks that is right there on the dashboard of your YouTube channel. And you've got Coffee and Patreon. These are external support systems that I have. I want to thank all of you who have supported me thus far. Truly appreciate it. Let's get started today. So les filles à marier, the marriageable girls, are a group of ladies who came to New France between the years 1634 and 1662. The hope was that they in turn would populate a country. In this 28-year cycle, there were only about 260 women who actually came. This was not enough, and therein lies why Les Filles du Roi, the subsequent program, began. But these women are amazing to me, because if the Filles du Roi, the later program, were the founding mothers, these are the founding grandmothers of New France, and their stories and their complexity are incredible. I'm only on episode 21, but already we've seen a tremendous amount of history, and truly the beginnings of it all are found in these women. So let's get to know our next fille mariée. So our episode 21 is Marie Perrier, and it was a viewer's suggestion, and then I was looking in my files, and I went, wait a minute, that's one of mine. So I was very delighted to be able to not only share the heritage with my viewer, but also explore more of Marie Perrier. So let's get to know her. So Marie was born about 1640 in La Rochelle, which is found in the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region of France. And inside that is the département or county of Charente-Maritime. And we have seen this place so many times because it really is fundamental to New France's history. And La Rochelle itself was founded during the 10th century and became an important harbor in the 12th. Until the 15th century, La Rochelle was to be the largest French harbor on the Atlantic coast, dealing mainly in wine, salt, and cheese. The name La Rochelle was first recorded as Rupella in 961, which is from a Latin meaning little rock. La Rochelle has one of the richest histories of all the towns of France, where from its beginnings is an area where the Knights of Templar had their strongest base. Eleanor of Aquitaine married Henry Plantagenet in 1152, who thus became King of England as Henry only 2 short years later, thus putting La Rochelle under Plantagenet rule, British rule, until Louis VIII captured it in the siege of La Rochelle in 1224. During the Plantagenet control of the city, which was about 1185, Henry II had the Vauclair castle built, remains of which are still visible. Just amazing to me. In the Place de Verdun. From 1568, La Rochelle did become a center for Huguenots, they obviously were created a lot of uprisings and turbulence and all of that. So it becomes a very hot spot for Huguenot rebellion until they were finally expelled. Some of you will know that there's a La Rochelle in a New Rochelle, actually, in New York, which was founded by exiles and people who were either thrown out or chose to run from La Rochelle. Now, Marie was baptized at the Saint Nicolas Church, and her parents were Antoine Parenteau and Anne Brisson. Let's see when she comes across. So Marie would come to New France in 1657. Although her parents were still alive when she left, her father would soon pass away and her mother would die in 1662. It's not difficult to see that she would have decided to build a life for herself and say, you know what, I need to keep going. And that's a sign too, you know. She didn't have to go. She chose, I feel like she chose to go. Her younger sister would come 13 years later as a fille du roi, so we'll study her as well. So the groom that she selected and who selected her, his name was Robert Gagne, and he was born in 1628 in La Ventreuse. Is found in the Normandy region and in the Orne department, which again is a center of a lot of French Canadians can trace their ancestry right back to this small part of Normandy. His parents were Jean Gagnon and Marie Perrier. This is the church where he would have been. It's called the Sainte Madeleine. Église Sainte Madeleine, and it dates from the 15th century. And the castle, which you see here, is at La Ventreuse, is obviously stunning and really a representation of what Robert would have seen. It's an extremely small village. I think there's no more than 300 people living there now. So Robert would come to New France no later than 1655 and probably earlier. He may have been an engagé for the 3 years, or he may have had the intention to settle in New France and came with assets to do so. What we know for sure is that on April 2nd, 16, he was granted land on what would become Sainte-Famille on the island of Orleans, the Ile d'Orléans. So shortly after Marie would have arrived, they were married on October 3rd, 1657 in Quebec City. And here we are back on the island of Orleans, Ile d'Orléans, which is located, as you can see on the picture on your left, on the map. You can see the Ile d'Orléans is right there. It's about 3 kilometers, 3 miles east of downtown Quebec City. The island was actually one of the very first to be colonized by the French, and a large percentage of French Canadians can trace their early ancestry to this island. It was originally named Grande Ile or Sainte Marie or Saint Laurent, but it was later changed in honor of King Francis I, his son Henry II, the Duke of Orleans, and so Ile d'Orléans. Now you can see how beautiful it is, how fertile it is, and that's one of the drawing cards that appealed to those early immigrants. One of the things I always stress in genealogy is location, location, location. It's going to be very important for you if you're researching on the island to know where your family settled, whether it was Sainte-Famille, Saint-François, Saint-Jean, Saint-Laurent, Saint-Pierre, or Saint-Pétronille. These are the 6 townships that you need to vote. Each has a church, each has its own particular flavor. Now we can see Robert and Marie settled, and by 1666 they had 2 children. By 1667, which is a much deeper census, we have Robert and Marie. We have Jean, Isabelle, Jacques. So they've had a 3rd child. They have 7 bestiaux, which is like cattle, and 15 arpents valants, so about 12 to 13 acres of land. Not a small amount on that island. And this is the children that they had. They had 10 children. Now, the first child is Jean, and he married Jeanne Lognon and had 13 children, 9 of whom would make it to adulthood. He would also have a natural child out of wedlock with Marguerite Bouchard, which would in total he would have had 14 children, 10 descendants. I am a descendant of their daughter, Marie Angelique, and so he is one of my great-grandparents. Elisabeth, when it's in capital, it means that is my direct descendant. Elisabeth would marry Louis Moreau and have 2 children, both of whom made it to adulthood. Upon his death, she married Jean Maril and had 8 more children, 5 of whom would make it to adulthood. I descend from both her husbands, so I'm like a Gagnon, you know. I didn't realize how much until I really, delved into it. Claude would pass away young. Jacques would marry Madeleine Rochon and have 14 children, 8 of whom would make it. Marie would join the Notre Dame congregation and become a nun. Jean-François would die at 18 of smallpox. Pierre would marry Louise Le Tourneau, and have 2 children, both of whom would make it, before his untimely death at 31 of smallpox. Anne would marry Hippolyte Tiverge and have 4 children, 2 of whom would make it to adulthood. She then married Joseph Charland and had 2 children, both of whom made it. Renee would also become a nun with the Congregation de Notre Dame, but would ultimately pass away from smallpox. Joseph would marry Anne Luneau and have 10 children, but only 4 would make it to adulthood. Here is the 1681 census that I have the clipping of on the top of the page. We have Robert and Marie. We have their children, Jean, my ancestor, who is listed as a woodworker, charpentier. Elisabeth is no longer there. She's obviously gone to form her own family. And then we have Jacques, Marie, and then we have Jeanne, but really Jeanne is Jean. Okay, so just know, always remember, you got to, kind of figure out the spelling mistakes and that sort of thing. So we have Pierre, we have Anne, we have René. See how René is not spelled in the correct way? It's spelled as a man, and alternatively Jean was spelled Jeanne. So these are the common mistakes. Then we have Joseph, who was 1 year old at the time. And then we have 1 gun, un fusil, 6 vaches à cornes, that's 6 goats, and 20 alpins, almost 18 acres of land he would have. Now, this is the map that was created in 1689, and this is where Robert Gagne's land, and that is right there. On a trip to, to the island this summer, I'm anticipating standing on that ground, so look forward to that. So that is the Gagne land. Robert would die on September 3rd, 1703. He was 75 years old. And he and Marie had been married 46 years by then. Marie would follow him a little over 2 years later in 1705. So in my research, I found this fabulous website, Les Familles Gagnon et Bézil. So please have a look at that. It really was, I kind of lost myself in there trying to figure out certain things. So it's a very, very good website. So please, like I said, the address is in your notes. So we have some lasting tributes. One of them was actually done at the Gagnon home base in France. The plaque there at his homeland of Ventrousse. And then, of course, the famous Île d'Orléans monument to the pioneers, Robert Gagnon, originaire de Tourov-en-Perche, marié à Marie Perrier, Parenteau, Sainte-Famille, 1656. That 1656 is an indication of when he received the land, when he first. So he was there even before the parish of Sainte-Famille. So truly, truly one of the earliest pioneers of the island. Well, I just couldn't, stop finding sites. So we have the Museum of Tourov that is there and has a lot of information. It has an English site as well. So I put the link for you. And then there is one called Perche Québec, which lists all the people from that region of Quebec. And I think that is definitely something you need to explore as well. And of course, the wonderful Facebook group, our Free French Canadian Ancestors, has the chapter on Robert Gagnon. I've put the links to both the Facebook page and the chapter that I drew a lot of the information from. Just absolutely, just a wonderful resource for you. So please, sure many of you already are members, but please have a look at that Facebook group. It really does help out in the research. So remarkable work has been done there. One of the things I always, if I have it, I always like to point out what the potential names and derivatives of that name. So we have Bézil, Couange, Gagne. You can see the difference. Gagnon, 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 Ganon, Garneau, Gognon, Gagnat, Gognou. I just love this. Gagnon, Gugno, and Jagno. So I mean, if you have any of these spellings that you've come across, this could be, especially if you're like, into America or different parts of Canada, you may find, oh, wait a minute, I have that name. I remember seeing that. I wonder if that links back. So I want to point that out, because part of finding your ancestor is figuring out what their name became. So, and also remember that part of this is also the D names that we talk about. That's Gagne di Bezil, for example, or they would have taken another name and that sort of thing, and the spelling and all of that. So I want you to always remember, and this is taken as well from our French-Canadian ancestors on page 91 from that same volume that I talked about in the previous slide. As always, I love to talk about all the resources that are out there. Today I'm going to talk about Maple Stars and Stripes. Sandra Goodwin is an amazing, amazing researcher, genealogist, podcast, and during the lockdown I found her actually during the lockdown, and listen to her, and still listen when I'm on a drive or that sort of thing. I just keep listening, and I hear different things each time. She's one of my idols. So absolutely have a look at Maple Stars and Stripes. She also has a website, but the podcast is just phenomenal. A new addition to this listing is the French-Canadian genealogist. Absolutely amazing the details she goes into. Check out that information as well. And of course, we have the Wiki Tree, we have Généalogie Québec, Québec Genealogical E-Society, and then we have Nos Origines, which is Généalogie du Québec et d'Amérique française. And then a couple of, I'm sure there are more, but I always like to, there's the Quebec Family History Society, there's the French-Canadian Heritage Society of Michigan, we have the American-Canadian Genealogical Society, and the American-Canadian Genealogical Society. So just wanted to, point those out, have a look at them. I belong to probably all of them, actually. Maybe one or two I'm missing. Just, I haven't gotten around to it, that's all. But definitely check these out. As you can plainly see, Marie and Robert were truly among the founding, families of Ile d'Orléans, and for their perseverance, for their dedication, for the fact that they really, I think, had a love story and managed to create a true dynasty. By the end, in 1729, there were 131 descendants, of which I'm proud to claim my own heritage. So, Marie, we are so grateful for your contribution, for your sacrifice, and for your determination to build a future in New France. And I have to say, merci, grand-maman. Until I see you on episode 122, au revoir.